Just a little over 2 months from launch, Sony has finally revealed the PlayStation 5 price and release date in a showcase that featured way more in terms of announcements than I think anybody was expecting. So I just want to go through the showcase itself and give some of my thoughts on the announcements, trailers, as well as a few extra pieces of information that have come out since. So after a scissor reel showing off some of the trailers from the Future of Gaming showcase last June, we got our first major reveal with a gameplay trailer for Final Fantasy 16. Now I'm not really a Final Fantasy fan, I'm sure they're incredible, just not for me. But this trailer did get me excited because it telegraphed that this showcase wasn't going to be just a price, release date, and a couple of gameplay trailers. We were getting major first and third party announcements. From what I can tell, the tone for this seems a lot darker than previous entries, much more violent, and it actually gave me a slight Dark Souls vibe from the gameplay we saw. And I think it was one of the more visually impressive games shown off. And unlike 15, it will be a PlayStation console exclusive. Next, we got a gameplay demo for SpiderMan Miles Morales. There's a few bits of new story info here. Miles' mom, Rio, is running for city council, so that's sure to play heavily into the plot. The Roxxon Energy Corporation also features, which Marvel fans are sure to be familiar with. And we get a look at one of the game's major antagonists, the Tinkerer. This seems to be a very unique take on the character. As far as I'm aware, there is no female version of the Tinkerer in any of the comics or animated series, so it looks like Insomniac is taking a lot of creative liberty with the character. The costume is also very different from anything in the comics. It kind of reminds me of Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp. Gameplay wise, it looks very familiar for anyone who played the main game. Miles does have his own animations, which gives him his own flair, and he has a new electrical attack. Graphically, it looks good, but I don't think it's jaw-droppingly better than the PS4 game. Maybe it's just because the demo takes place at night, so lighting could play into that, but for me it doesn't really look like that big of an improvement, though it may be more noticeable when we see the PS4 version side by side. The music also stood out to me, with a really cool hip-hop twist on the original game's orchestral style. The next major announcement was Hogwarts Legacy, the Harry Potter RPG that we've seen various leaks from over the last year or so. I absolutely loved Harry Potter as a kid, and a large part of that was not only the books and movies, but also the video games. Some of my earliest gaming memories were of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone on PS1, so despite not really keeping the same fandom for that series as I grew up, I've always had a soft spot for it in my heart, and I've always had a deep love for the universe in particular. So a big budget RPG that lets you create a character, attend classes, explore Hogwarts, and just exist in that world is right up my alley. The trailer shows off a few familiar creatures like dragons, trolls, and dementors, and the late 1800s setting separates it enough from the main series to give it its own style, while I'm sure featuring tons of references and familiar characters, particularly in the ghosts of Hogwarts, like Nearly Headless Nick or Peeves, which I'm sure are going to make an appearance. Fingers crossed that we'll also be able to play Quidditch, since that was always one of my favorite activities from previous games. We got a short gameplay demo for Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. I sort of dipped off of Call of Duty a few years ago. I've never really been a fan of when that series goes kinda sci-fi futuristic. I've always preferred more grounded historical settings like World War II or Vietnam, with the original Black Ops being one of my favorites in the series. So this being a direct continuation of that game, I'm more tempted to dip back in now than I have been for the last few entries. It definitely maintains the action movie spectacle that series is known for. We got a few new trailers for some of the third-party games revealed at the Future of Gaming showcase. Resident Evil showed off some snippets of gameplay, with a better look at the setting and enemies. It also had a really cool Tim Burton style animation in it, so I'm curious if that was just for this trailer, or that's something that will feature in the game. Deathloop had a new trailer detailing some of the potential tactics you can use in that game, sort of similar to Hitman and how you can manipulate things to make your target go to a certain location. And we got a new trailer for Oddworld Soulstorm, which showed off a few more level environments. Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition was announced, which interestingly specified that it was available digitally at launch, which I'm curious if that means it's a digital only game or that the physical version will launch later. Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach also had a very creepy reveal trailer, with the game taking place in an 80s style mall, and unsurprisingly Fortnite will be coming to PlayStation 5, available at launch. To me, the most visually impressive game at the showcase was the Demon's Souls remake, which had a short gameplay demo. It definitely looks like a significant upgrade from the PlayStation 4's visual capabilities, and appears to be Sony's technical showcase for the console at launch. I'm not particularly good at FromSoft games, but I really love the aesthetic, so I'm tempted to pick this up at launch and power through it. In an extremely smart move, Sony also announced the PlayStation Plus collection, which is a compilation of most of PlayStation 4's first-party titles, like God of War, The Last of Us Remastered, Days Gone, Bloodborne, Ratchet & Clank, as well as a few third-party games like Persona 5, Monster Hunter World, and Final Fantasy 15. They'll be available to download at launch if you have PlayStation Plus, and I can see this being very attractive for newcomers to PlayStation, since it gives you 18 games for your new console, many of which are among the most critically acclaimed, not only of the last generation, but of all time. So I could definitely see this pushing some undecided consumers towards the PlayStation 5. And then we finally get to the main attraction, what everybody has been tuning in for: the price and release date. The PlayStation 5 will retail for $499, with the digital edition priced at $399. This is the price point that I think a lot of people are expecting, but it definitely comes as a relief considering there was speculation the price for the disc-based model could go as high as $599, and I think this is a very competitive price. The Xbox Series X will also retail for $499, but while the Series X is priced lower than the PS5 digital edition at $299, it is a technical downgrade to the Series X, with a slower GPU and generally less processing power, as opposed to the PS5 digital edition, which is identical to its disc-based counterpart, with the exception of the disk drive. One thing I actually was a bit disappointed with was the release date. While the PS5 will launch November 12th in the US, Japan, Mexico, Australia, New Zealand, and South Korea, the rest of the world will have to wait until November 19th, which, since I'm based in Ireland, includes me. This is somewhat of a surprise since the PlayStation 4 had a worldwide release date, and the Xbox Series X launches worldwide on November 10th. So I'm a bit sad at the idea that I'll be seeing videos and posts on Facebook of people excitedly talking about how much they're enjoying it, while having to wait that extra week. Also, as a content creator, this is kind of unfortunate, since having planned various videos around the launch, including a review of the console itself, and launch titles like Spider-Man Miles Morales, this puts me at sort of a disadvantage. But any grievances I had were immediately forgiven when Sony chose to close the show with the announcement of God of War 2. It was a very minimal teaser trailer, with Kratos giving a voiceover as we see the World Serpent form the series Omega symbol. It's being reported that Ragnarok is the subtitle of the game, though I can't find any confirmation from Sony that this is the case. Ragnarok is coming may just be the tagline for the game. Despite being the obvious choice for a subtitle, the fact that Thor used Ragnarok for one of its films made me think Sony may want to avoid using it. Probably the most exciting part of this trailer is that the game is scheduled for a 2021 release, which is way sooner than I was expecting, and it's kind of mind-blowing to think that God of War 2 and Horizon 2 will both be year one games. Speaking of Horizon 2, it was confirmed just after the showcase that Forbidden West, Sackboy: A Big Adventure, and Spider-Man Miles Morales would also be coming to PlayStation 4, which has been met with sort of a mixed reaction. While I think Spider-Man makes sense to go cross-gen, since it is an expansion of a PS4 game, Horizon 2 is particularly surprising. Sony has traditionally used their first-party games to not only showcase their new hardware, but to sharpen the line between generations, an attitude in polar opposite with Xboxes towards console generations. Now, Sony has since come out and said that these games are, quote, built from the ground up for PS5. But messaging aside, the fact of the matter is that having these games capable of running on PS4 is restricting them on a technical level. Take Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart for example. The ability to instantly go from one world to another is a fundamental gameplay mechanic, and one that just wouldn't be possible on PS4. So while Horizon 2 on PlayStation 5 may be one of the best looking games on the console when it releases, the fact that a graphically downgraded version will have to be capable of running on PS4 will limit the scope of that game in some way. Since the showcase, Sony's confirmed the first party launch lineup will include Astro's Playroom, Demon's Souls, Destruction All-Stars, Spider-Man Miles Morales, and Sackboy: A Big Adventure. If you combine this with some of the confirmed third-party launch titles like Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Godfall, this is looking like a very strong launch lineup with a huge amount of variety, and that's not even mentioning the 18 games included with the PlayStation Plus collection. Finally, the last thing I want to talk about is the confusion surrounding pre-orders for the console. Sony announced immediately after the showcase that pre-orders will be up, quote, as soon as tomorrow. Yet despite this, many retailers made pre-orders available immediately. When the showcase ended, I went to GameStop's website just to see if they had updated details regarding the price, and to my surprise, it was up for pre-orders. I immediately added to basket, and when my payment was processing, it came up out of stock. I went to the website for another retailer, and luckily after refreshing the page for a few minutes, I was able to secure a pre-order immediately after them going live. But the fact that pre-orders are selling out within minutes tells you just how in demand units are going to be. And you can already see pre-orders on eBay selling for well over retail price. It'll be interesting to see how this will compare to Xbox when pre-orders go up this Tuesday. So those are some of my thoughts on the PS5 showcase. What did you think? Did you manage to secure a pre-order, or did Sony's mismanagement cause you to miss out? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, you should check out some of my other videos, and if you want to see more content in the future, feel free to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.